All right. Let's see how this goes. Filming again. We had wild card weekend last week. Didn't go so hot for me. I ended up kind of missing on every single game um, except for the Rams Seahawks. Except I like when I heard Jared Goff wasn't starting, I was like, well, wait, should I hedge? I don't know. It was like ended up being like the one had no confidence in. I'm like, well, I lost that bet, and then lo and behold, the Seahawks were pretenders, like I thought. Rams ended up coming out ahead in like an ugly victory, and that was like the only bet I won. I pushed on the Buccaneers game. What was it? Bucks Bears. It was like an 8-point spread. Ended up pushing on that one, but anyway, moving on to the following week here, we got two Saturday games, two Sunday games to decide the who's going to compete for the AFC and NFC championship. First up, we got Rams at Packers NFC game. We got against the 1 seed Packers coming off a bye. So this is a 6.5 point spread in favor of the Packers. So, I mean, I don't know. It could just be that I'm kind of a Vikings fan. I want to cheer against the Packers anyway, but I kind of like the Rams. But follow me here. So the Packers coming off a bye, they've kind of been hot and cold this whole season. Not even hot and cold. They've been mostly hot. They have a great regular season record, but if you go back and look at the teams that they've actually beat, they're quality wins. They had a quality win against the Titans right towards the end of the season. Big bonus for them. They had a win against the Saints like early in the season, but they got dominated like week 6. They got dominated by the Buccaneers. And the rest of their games were just Falcons, Vikings, Detroit, Bears a couple times, who are technically a playoff team, but can't say that I'm all that impressed by Bears victories. So I don't think the Packers are as good as the record shows. I know things that I know is the Packers O line is a wart is just been kind of hiding under the surface. Somehow they've been able to avoid having two series of issues about that offensive line, but they Brian Bulaga left he was it was time for something new. He was kind of an aged veteran, and David Bakhtiari, who was hurt, kind of banged up throughout most of the season, but now he's done. So you lost both your tackles, and the guys filling in. I don't know that much about the guys who are really starting. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert, but I just know that there's no way that they're. I just think there's weaknesses there on the Packers offensive line, and I'm not. Again, I'm not as sure about what the center. How much does that really mean, right? Because right now I'm talking about the ends, right? I'm talking about the tackles. And if you know, like the Rams defense, you got Aaron Donald, that he's bringing that front pressure. So I don't know how good the center and the guards are for the Packers, but I do think that if you look back to like the Bucks game, where the Bucks were able to really thwart their ability to do anything. I think that something like that. I mean, it was week 6. It was a long time ago, but I do think like a game script like that can happen where the Rams defensive line is just so dominant, and Jalen Ramsey is the best cornerback in the league at this point. He's going to face off against Devontae Adams. I don't think he's going to shut down Devontae Adams, but definitely having a corner of that quality against Devontae Adams is going to at least frustrate Aaron Rodgers a little bit. And I don't think they really have much else to throw to. I just don't think the other players on that offense are particularly talented. So I like the way that Rams, really solid Rams defense matches up against the Packers offense. I think of all the teams in the NFL, they're one of the most ideally suited to face off against the Packers. And on the other side of the ball, you got Cam Akers has really been coming on hot. I understand Goff has had issues. He kind of broke his thumb, needed surgery, wasn't supposed to start last week, was able to play. Didn't play particularly well, but now he's got another week under his belt here to try to get healthy. And I don't think he's going to go out and like light the world on fire. But I think if he's capable and their run game is solid against a Packers defense that isn't particularly special, the Packers defense regressed from last year to this year. Their pass rush, I think, has been worse in the league. And against the run, at one point they were abysmal. I guess based on the season-long stats, they're kind of middle of the road. But their run defense is nothing to be afraid of. even with like early in the season, I was trying to watch like Kenny Clark. He was going in and out of the lineup, but it never seemed to make a difference. Like they never were much of a run stopping, uh, defense, and their secondary is good. So, but a lot of what the Rams do is kind of short stuff. That's probably what they're going to ask banged up Jared Goff to do is a lot of short stuff. So I don't know. I like the way that offense matches up to do enough. And I mean, that's the heart of the story here is Rams. They're giving me Rams plus 6.5 points. So I think the Rams could win this game outright. Like it's the playoffs, anything can happen. But also, you're going to give me 6.5 point buffer, and this is supposed to be the lowest scoring game of the weekend. If you start looking at the over unders, and I don't know, I kind of like the way that Rams defense matches up against the pack. Of all the teams left, I think when you're looking at the Rams versus the Packers or the Bucks versus the Packers, I feel like the way those defenses match up. So I don't know. Long story short, I'll take the Rams at 6.5 points and cheer for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers to fail. Next game on Saturday is Ravens at Bills. I think this is the toughest one to pick. Obviously, Vegas kind of agrees because it's a 2.5 point spread in favor of the Bills. So the Bills are the home team, minus 2.5 Bills. That's the side I'm taking just because, Jared, or is it Jared? Not Jared Allen. Josh Allen. Josh Allen and the Bills have just been so hot. But I don't think their defense is particularly special. And man, that Ravens defense is tough. I don't know. Like, I was giving the Ravens defense a lot of credit throughout the season. And there were definitely times where I felt like the Ravens defense is like, where are these guys? Like, kind of let me down. But this past week, they really shut the Titans down. And the Titans, their offensive line was definitely like something they had to try to win in spite of it after losing their left tackle during the season. Their offensive line was full of kind of replacements, but they still had some really good offensive pieces. Ryan Tannehill is one of the better he's a top 10 quarterback in this league easily. He's been played really well this season and last season. And you have Derrick Henry, who's the rushing leader with 2,000 plus yards. And they held Derrick Henry to 40, which is his lowest total of the season. And they held Ryan Tannehill to 165 yards, and he's got some decent receivers. Corey Davis is an athletic guy, and AJ Brown, one of the best young receivers in this league. So I don't have a ton of confidence, just because of how good that Ravens defense is, and I don't think the Bills defense is particularly suited to match up against that running attack that the Ravens have. Plus, Lamar when he gets the wheels on. On the Bills side, though, I think they're really hot on offense, and I still think like Lamar Jackson is questionable in the passing game. If you need to ask him to do things for you there, so just the limitations of that Ravens offense, and how good Josh Allen's been with Stephon Diggs and everything the Bills have going on offense, I'm going to take the Bills minus 2.5, but not a ton of confidence on my part. This next game, so moving on to Sunday games. We got Browns at Chiefs, and right now the Chiefs are minus 10-point favorites against the Browns. And at first I'm like, oh, that's a good spread. That makes sense, Chiefs, really good offense. But I'm like, wait a minute. No, this is stupid. Like, the Chiefs, I tend during the regular season, I'm guilty of trying to stay away from the Chiefs too much just because it's always like a 10-point spread, 12-point spread. But those are against like regular season teams and regular season games. And I know there were multiple times during the regular season where I'm like, they're playing the Panthers, and they're favored by 11 points here. And that's too good of a team to be 10-point, 11-point dogs. And it ended up paying me, when I would take that mentality. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, the Browns just spanked the Steelers last week. They're offensively, the Browns have really been exploding towards the end of the season. They get that double-headed running attack, Baker Mayfield's starting to play better football. I still have question marks about Baker Mayfield, but he's playing better football, and I just think that's way too good of a team to be 10-point dogs. And it's like, are we talking about the Chiefs currently as they are, or are we talking about the Chiefs of this, like, idea we have that are the Chiefs? Because the Chiefs had problems this year. I don't think their defense is, like, spectacular. I was just looking back through their last... so I don't think their defense is particularly spectacular. On offense, they haven't been able to run the ball all season. Like, especially in short yardage situations, like they just have not had any push, any punch. They're having to do weird little shovel pass trick things every time they get to the red zone, and it's been working for them. But it's like after they fail trying to run the ball in twice. So the idea that like they're just like this spotless, unstoppable force that are the Chiefs, I think is just flawed. And I just think the Browns, they're a playoff team. They've beaten good teams. They showed enough that they should not be 10-point underdogs in this game, and I think they'll be able to move the ball in that defense. And I look back, through the bye, the last 7 games that the Chiefs have played, 7 games against all kinds of teams, good teams, bad teams. There was only one game where they won by more than 10 points, and it was Week 17 against the Chargers. The prior 6 games had been close games, and that included like a 3-point win against the Falcons. That included like a 2-point win against the Panthers, 2 non-playoff teams. And I understand that, like, okay, time to bring out the big guns. Andy Reid had a bye going into this game. He's gonna be pulling out all the stops, all the tricks. It's the playoffs now. But I just think the Browns and Kevin Stefanski, you can't really sleep on them either. I think they're gonna have a plan. They're gonna try to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. They're gonna run the ball, and I don't think the Chiefs are really that good of a defense to stop them. So, do I think the Browns are gonna upset the Chiefs? Probably not. Do I think 10 points is a hell of a lot of points to give in a playoff game? Hell yeah, especially in a division week. This ain't wild card weekend where you got the 8-8, or whatever they were, the Bears sneaking in. No, this is a pretty solid team. This is a 10+ win team out of the AFC North who played pretty well this season. So I'll take the Browns plus 10. We'll see what happens. And then final game of the weekend, Buccaneers at Saints. Now this one, I don't know. I might just be a Saints hater, and it goes. I feel like I'm being an idiot just because of the way both Bucks and Saints games played out during the regular season. The Saints, like, kind of, I thought, looked pretty human all season, except when they played the Buccaneers, and then they kicked the shit out of them. They did it twice during the season. Early, it was like week 1 or 2, they played each other, and the Saints definitely routed them. But it was like, Tom Brady's new down there. They're still kind of finding their feet. Not a big deal. But then they played like mid-season and absolutely blew the doors off the Buccaneers. Like, it was terrible. Like, people were talking about why they didn't pull Brady out earlier just because the game was so lost. I think they scored like 3 points against the Saints. But all that said, I'm still taking the Buccaneers plus 3. I just think that the Buccaneers, it's playoff time. They're not going to sleepwalk into any of these games. And I just think they have a much better, talented roster. Their defense is solid. I think he's clicking better with his weapons. In the final game, that he's just trying to force passes to Antonio Brown to make sure he gets incentives. I just think, and the Godwin stepped up a bit. I think that the Buccaneers' offense is in a much better spot. Their defense is really solid, one of the best in the NFC. On the other side of the ball, you got Drew Brees, who's decidedly washed. Not a particularly dynamic offense, although they have been effective. But they scored like 21 points against the Bears defense last week. And granted, the Bears defense is really good, but their offense wasn't doing anything. They had a lot of opportunities, and they scored 21 points. I think the Buccaneers is just maybe a slight step down from that Bears defense, and I don't think 21 points is going to be enough to do it. And probably not going to be enough to do it by 3, to cover that plus 3. So I'm going to take the underdogs again here, and I'll take the Bucs plus 3, and I feel pretty decent about that. I just don't really believe in the Saints all that much, and the Bucs are a really solid team. So I don't know. They've been inconsistent. They've definitely not shown up for games, but I just don't think that's going to happen this division game here in the playoffs. Well, that's all I got. So I got Rams at Packers. I got Rams plus 6.5. Ravens at Bills. I got Bills minus 2.5. Browns at Chiefs. I got Browns plus 10. Bucks at Saints. I got Bucks plus 3. And I feel pretty good about all those. Most shaky one I'm about is Ravens and Bills, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Check out my Twitter at favorite fade. But yeah, let me know what's going on in the comments. Whether I'm wrong, why I'm wrong. Most importantly, like what I miss, what am I forgetting about? Did I just blow it on a couple of key injuries? I don't know. But yeah, good luck to whatever bets you make. Have fun watching football.